if you have a situation where it's difficult for you to understand your child's behaviour at home, it could be very emotional outbursts and you feel like you're walking on eggshells. This video with the roadmap we're going to outline is here to help you navigate this situation. I want to tell you about a student I worked with called Maya, who was aged 12. And Maya's mum was having difficulties with Maya because her reports from school were really positive in terms of her ability to manage her emotions and her communication around how she was feeling. But when Maya's mum would collect her from school, she found that on the journey home from school and then the afternoons when they got home, there was a lot of emotional outbursts. She would be quite moody, as her mum described her. She felt like she was walking on eggshells around her. In terms of academic learning, the school did highlight that they could see she was having some difficulties with literacy activities, and particularly around reading and writing tasks, that there was some difficulties there. So Maya was aged 12 at the time. And because there was such a mismatch in terms of how they were describing her emotional responding to things, Maya's mum questioned whether she was, there was something that she was missing, or why was there such a mismatch at times between what they were seeing at home as a family and what was going on at school. And Maya had 2 younger siblings, so it was really impacting the family dynamic when she was having arguments and disagreements and losing her temper really easily with her mum. And it was causing a lot of it was making things stressful at home for the family. So Maya's mum eventually decided that she was going to make an appointment and see an educational psychologist. And she told me that even the step of making the appointment helped her to feel a bit better and that she was starting to take some control of the situation. So in the initial parent consultation that we complete as part of the process, it involved Maya's mum coming in and talking through questions around her background, her experience of school so far, and we go into background in a lot more detail. We talk about what the behaviour looks like at home in the house, how it's impacting other people, how she's getting on at school, maybe some feedback from school. Because the process is so comprehensive then, it gave Maya's mum the opportunity to talk about her experiences and label some of the things that she was seeing happening. And she could see herself that actually there was something there and it wasn't just, random pieces of information. That when she started speaking about it aloud and being asked questions from someone who was listening and understanding kind of the situation and getting more information in, and it helped her to see that there was an issue there that needed to be addressed. Then the next step in the process is Maya came in for an assessment, and that was done over 2 sessions in this particular situation. And as part of that assessment, we also do an observation at school. There's a meeting with Maya's teacher. So there's different pieces of information are gathered across different people and different situations. And when Maya's mum came in and we did the part at the clinic where she's doing some of the one-to-one assessment, things went really smoothly. And I think her mum was concerned that we wouldn't see the full picture of things then, because she got on so well in terms of how she did with the one-to-one work, but that her emotional responding and her overall mood was measured, and she seemed to be, in a good mood throughout the assessment process. But I did mention to Maya's mum that we don't just take it on that individual instance, we take all the feedback from different people and we look at things across different contexts as well. And for Maya's situation then, obviously the mum has brought her for the assessment and now she's having to wait, and that period of waiting can be difficult as well, because you're still questioning whether you've done the right thing? Is something going to come up here? What is going to be said to me at the end of it all? And it's that anticipation can be a bit, make us feel a bit nervous as well. In this situation, Maya's was showing symptoms across both ADHD and dyslexia, and she was eventually diagnosed with both ADHD and dyslexia. And I think it can be confusing at times when we see features across both of these different types of difficulties that a child can present with, because on one hand you're questioning whether could that be because of dyslexia, could that be because of ADHD, and her mum had obviously been looking up some of information around these two different things, and it was on her radar for a long time. So she, was questioning whether it could be one or the other, and it can be confusing. I had an experience last week where I had just started to listen to a voice note and someone called me at the same time. And I'm not sure if you've had that experience before, but what I found was that because the information came at me at the same time from two different inputs, I could hear the person talking at the end of the phone, but I could also hear the person speaking on the voice note. It was very confusing. I wasn't sure who I was listening to and what the context of the conversation was until I realised what had happened, that I'd pressed the button at the same time, and then it was easier for me to understand. And with the assessment process, what it does, similar to that, is it helps us to separate the two inputs coming at us and makes it easier to understand why you're seeing certain characteristics that relate to dyslexia, for example, and then certain characteristics that relate to ADHD. And that can be a really important thing as a parent, to get that information and see that it labelled in two different categories, because it gives us a better understanding about why we're seeing the behaviour that we're seeing. And for Maya's mum, I think there was a lot of relief to see things named in a report. So now she had a document that stated specifically what things were impacting her child. And as part of the report, we listed specific recommendations to help Maya at school and at home. So at school, we had some strategies to support dyslexia, and that looked like having some one-to-one more frequent literacy intervention, and that this would be monitored more closely, and that she wouldn't be moved on until certain targets were achieved. So again, we were trying to build up that fluency for Maya. In terms of ADHD, we had strategies that supported teachers in breaking things down into more manageable units for her, not overloading her with lots of language, for example, or long big texts, because of the dyslexia as well. That was overloading Maya at times in the day. We also gave her ownership of when she would have breaks in movement breaks in the day, where she could decide to ask for a break, or it would be included as part of her schedule, so that she's not going from one language or literacy heavy activity like English, where she's having to read and write, onto something else that was also language heavy. For example, it could be like a science activity or another subject where the expectation would be again that she's going to be doing a lot of reading and writing. And by having those breaks then scheduled to help Maya better regulate her attention and focus and reduce some of that cognitive load, it really helped her to feel a bit more like she was managing things more effectively. We also advise that Maya have some sessions to help her better understand herself and how her brain was working and how her brain is processing things, so that she can also start learning language that helps her to explain how she's feeling, and also that gives her the language to ask for specific help in school. And it's something that we want to build up as a child moves into university and then into working life, that we're able to speak up for ourselves and say, actually, I need it done in a different way, that I need it broken down into bullet points, for example, or I need more time to read through this, and I will get back to you then with my response to it. So again, we're giving her ways to help protect herself and protect her own mental health by being able to speak up for herself. In terms of the relationship with her mum, we had some sessions as part of her counselling where Maya and her mum would come together in the session and work on speaking clearly about their feelings around the topic and what they needed from each other in terms of dealing with conflict and when things go wrong. And this helped to give them some space, I think, to, obviously you're going to have arguments, especially when we see like children moving into teenage years. It's part of the deal, really, isn't it? That we see that kind of more reactive and emotional responding sometimes. But for Maya's situation, her mum was struggling because of the intensity of the reactions and the frequency of it. And when we had some time to work on communication between the two of them, but also with the other strategies that were being put in place at school as well, it really helped to reduce the number of arguments that were happening, and also that they were not as intense. And Maya's mum said that there was an overall shift at home because things were just a bit more calm and easier to manage as well, which she was really happy about. When we think about a child like Maya who's navigating all of these things through the day, and we think about how much more of a cognitive load and effort she's having to put in terms of accessing reading and writing tasks, but also to regulate her attention and her emotion as part of the ADHD type presentation that she has. She needs some extra help with organising her time and her activities. It is a lot more demanding for Maya than to be keeping up with peers in her class in terms of doing the work that needs to be done. And it's like, in some ways, that we carry a backpack around, that Maya has to carry this extra load with her during the day. And when she gets home or she gets in the car, that's the first time in the day where she gets to put the backpack down. And it gives her an opportunity to release some of the emotions that she's been feeling. She's doing it with people who understand her, and she's doing it because she feels safe around her mum and her family members. And up to that point, because Maya's mum wasn't understanding what was happening so clearly and so well, it's just that constant questioning as to why they're behaving like this. Why are they? We've already spoken about this, but it's still coming up, and there's no change happening. Whereas when we had the strategies and the name put to something, it helped on both Maya's side and her mum's side to be a bit more able to deal with situations in the moment. And as I mentioned, it's natural as parents as well that we don't always stay patient when we should, and we sometimes lose our temper as well, particularly when we don't understand what to do or why things are happening as they are. But having that process of things being written down and having concrete recommendations in place and seeing the improvement in just the overall dynamic at home was really helpful for Maya's mum. And she started to feel like they were moving in a direction where something was working and there was momentum there to keep going with it. If you feel that your child is going through something similar to the example I gave of Maya, please feel free to reach out. We're here to help you put a plan in place and work with you and your child to help you navigate this situation and make improvements in how things are working at home for you at the moment.